No. The rec bots ain't here. Let's debate right now.
Like this guy's
Oh,
actual duck
damn.
material.
Damn.
Alright, we can debate it right now,
He
man.
pressing you.
Debate when I
We
get
can debate it
home.
right now,
He
man.
really is pressing you, nigga. He said the rat bot in here right now, nigga. That's just crazy.
Yo, he said the camera is on you, bro. He said that shit is on you, bro.
All right, so what was it? What was it? Comp debater versus who? Eisen?
Yeah, we can do that, man.
All right,
Comp
bro.
debater, bro. Are you Ichi?
Right, I
Like,
put him on.
That's what he gave me.
I'll
That's what
start,
he
man.
gave me.
I'll start.
Yeah,
My
great.
favorite.
Keta,
Sorry.
Keta,
Not even
Keta, 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 Keta,
I
Keta,
give
composite Mario. Keta,
Yeah.
composite Mario.
I don't remember the scales. Ho ho ho.
not gonna lie. That might have been the only cool thing Elijah's ever said, though.
Yeah, let me see if I can find my Mario
Okay.
skills real quick.
Okay,
Give me a
bro.
second.
Like,
Can
Gray,
I-
you can't even lie, though. He said the right bot in VC. Like, we can do it right now. That's the only cool thing Elijah's ever said in his
I
career.
ain't gonna hold that. That was kind of cool. That was kind of cool.
That's the only cool thing he's ever said, bro.
Here, let me find the scan server. Where is it?
Okay, bro. The applause is done. Get the scaling.
Yeah, man.
That was kind of cool too, bro. That was kind of cool.
Now, do I want to use or Eisen?
Wait, who's he using?
I really hope he uses composite Mario.
I don't remember the scales for Mario.
He's non-dual. It's non-dual.
Ugh.
Bro, yeah. He's non-dual, nigga. He's non-dual.
Not using that. I have to get the scans and everything. And I don't know how to argue for that.
Bro, this
Alright,
nigga can't
here we
argue shit, bro.
Oh,
Nigga like me, Grave. Put me in that order, bro. I can argue for anybody, bro.
Dog, Elijah, I don't know if you understand, bro. That one day that like I spam pinged you, I was dead ass like ready to throw 100 on it, like straight up.
Bro, I was at work. Like, that was not fair, man.
Niggas
And
on
everybody wanted me to quit my job for this shit. Like, what?
Dude, think about it. Think about it.
anyways,
Think
here
about
we
it. Think
go.
about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. You at most make 20 an hour. If you just like were like, hey, dude, my grandma just died. You could have potentially made your daily wage in like
No, you would
45
have gotten
minutes.
more because more people were putting money on it. Remember? Because
I had
Aladdin put like 70, and Umber put money on it too.
yeah, but I had just started the
It's gonna be
job.
like 250.
I
he
can't.
took the scam, he took the scam, bro.
Yeah. Basically, what my character is gonna do, he's just gonna wish for a win and then he wins no matter what.
He's gonna wish for a win and then he wins. Is that
Yes.
what you said? Okay, and why does this scan? Mean that's gonna happen. Yeah, I'm looking. Go ahead.
Hogyoku's power, the true power is the ability to read the hearts around their deep desires. Every around you that has been materialized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if my comp debater and in his heart he just wants to win, is it gonna realize my desire and he's gonna just fucking kill you?
No, that goes against
Okay,
what's
then
been
what's the
shown.
point of what is the point of this?
It only works for Eisen, so he's just gonna
It
materialize
just
win.
I don't understand that. Okay. You say what's the idea? Is the idea that just Eisen's gonna like what? He's gonna wanna win and it's gonna work?
Yes, and then he wins no matter what.
Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna grant that my character just completely outskills your character. So this kind of accessibility isn't even available. I don't
Okay,
think your
why does
character
outscaling
interact
need to
with
completely disregard my?
I
Because
don't think your what?
Ichigo like he transcends Aizen and the ability still works.
Yeah, I don't think Ichigo outscales Aizen in such a way that it's just Aizen can't interact with him whatsoever. That I think they have some sort of relative stature in existence,
That's just
which isn't
not true.
comparable to per se like particulars with universals when it comes to acting as a derivation versus being actual genuine grounding.
Alright, firstly, let's start off with what you said originally. I disagree with that. Transcendence and are just described as a whole nother level, right? So if it's the case that Ichigo is a whole transcendence tier over Aizen, then it would be the case that, and we know in Bleach if you're just so much stronger than the enemy's abilities wouldn't work. So imagine a transcendence to tier above that. So he's gonna be a transcendence tier. a dimensional tier above him, and it still works in grad school.
Okay, a dimensional tier is not the same as the difference from per se a universal and its derived particulars.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Okay. Do you think that any particular individual circle is of relative stature existentially
Yo,
to the
that's
concept of a circle?
I understand.
Okay. Okay. Let me put it this way. Outer on the tiering system, right?
Hmm.
Okay. You understand how it's pointed out to be, let's say, completely inaccessible to the things below it, right?
Uh-huh.
And you understand how VSBW appeals to some sort of idealist metaphysics where it talks about this when it comes to certain concepts versus their little derivations, these particular instances of the concept, right?
Yeah, elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Oh, I'm just gonna pull it up for you. I got you. Don't worry. What do you want, VSBW or CSAT?
Both could be fine.
Both can be fine.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh wait, maybe it's my Spotify that's making you so loud. Hold on. Speak.
Yo.
Dude,
No,
he
that's
told
good.
you to speak into Maddie for a little bit.
Alright, Brad Gray. Let's not instigate, man.
Let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Okay. I'm just gonna appeal to VSBW. Is that fine with you?
Ask for both.
Huh?
Ask for both.
You want both? Okay, that's fine. I guess. Yeah, I got you. Let me just copy paste. Let me get the other thing for you. Okay. Okay. Here, I'll just send this one. Okay, right. These are the definitions of universal.
Character residing passing material composition as a whole, and who are therefore completely unreachable and in all dimensions of the aforementioned structures. The superiority of such as is purely qualitative is entirely on the quantity and nature of their existence rather than any quantitative or numerical principle. Keta reject tears. I could do that. Let me keep reading it.
No. Go ahead and try to reject the tears, and then I want you to justify rejecting the tears.
I'm still reading.
No, go ahead and reject the tears like he wants.
First, I just said I'm reading. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna see what route I want to take. All right. Wait. The composition agree to bring to the attention that fact that all the previous can be expressed as a union of conscience of lower tiers.
Should I have used Goku? Should I said Goku was real? Would that be cold?
characters that have no limitation, no dimensional limitations are beyond scientific definition. Okay, is that one of the definitions you want to use?
What was that?
Universal characters that have no dimensional limitations and are beyond scientific definition thereof.
Everything that I just sent in that message is what I'm willing to use.
Okay, so are you saying my hack won't work on your character because he's universal?
Outer versal or above, and your character's not.
Okay, I can just get my character outer.
Go
I
ahead
can
and get them.
showcase it working on stuff like that. Yeah, my character he transcends what's it called? He transcends the application of reasoning. If that's the case, then he would also transcend logic itself.
I deny. Matter of fact, I grant a distinction between the applied methodologies of logic and actual logic itself.
Okay, what's the difference?
Okay, would you say that what you call recognized archetypes or patterns are going to be the same as the actual patterns or intelligibility itself?
What?
Okay, right. You know what a pattern is, right?
No, it's on
Or a recognized archetype. Have you heard of archetypes?
My guy, I said I zoned
Here,
out.
okay, no, don't worry. I'm gonna break this down to
Yo,
you
Elijah,
in
what
a
I'm
rather
asking
simple
you to
way.
do,
No,
what I'm asking
silence,
you to do,
silence.
I'm not asking for any
Yeah,
further
you want.
clarification.
Okay,
What I'm
do you want?
asking for is you to repeat yourself because I cannot hear you. I don't really care
Which
about the
part do you
further.
need me to like repeat myself on?
The first part, the first thing you said, because I could not hear you.
The first thing I said.
Yes.
I said that I don't grant this. I grant
Not
I'm gonna
that
grant
part.
distinction between. Okay, then what?
Your argument, your first argument made against it.
Okay, I'll get into that. There's a difference between recognized archetypes or patterns versus the actual intelligibility or order.
Yeah,
That pattern
go into
is a
clarification
representation
on
of.
what those are, and then we can go on from there.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna go ahead and give a clarification what those are. That burger now. Anyways, here I'll give you an example with a game that you like. You know,
I don't
Persona.
want. Okay, you're not sure.
You know Persona, right?
Yep.
Okay. You know Jungian archetypes, right?
No, I don't. Try again.
You don't know the Jungian archetypes of Persona?
No.
Okay, hold on. Let me go see if I have that one thing.
Okay. Can you just give a definition instead of an example, or?
Okay, right. The Jungian archetypes in Persona, the way that they work is just basically gonna
Not
follow
in
that.
Persona. I don't want an example. Give me the definition.
It's an example. I can explain it to you
yeah,
analogically.
I
I don't
said I
need
don't want
I don't
example.
need to give you a brood like some sort of super specific example about the
Okay,
antics of a specific thing.
Can
I
you
don't.
justify that? Because
Okay, explain why.
If someone
Explain
wants
why.
some specific evidence, if someone wants some specific evidence, and they don't accept this as evidence, I think, and then you.
Okay, Keta, let me know. Rather than necessarily giving a positive property to any specific thing, tell me why I can't describe something via negativa.
That's a burden shift because
That's not a burden
positing,
shift.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
I'm
explain
giving
why.
you.
You're originally positing the fact that you don't have to do this.
Okay, sure.
beyond
I'm gonna.
just-
Don't worry. I'm gonna. I'll type you out something. Okay. It'll be simple enough
Okay,
for you to
so
understand.
if it's an example, I don't really care about it then.
No, it's important. Don't worry. We're gonna grant that A is just gonna be equal to 1 and 2, and B is just gonna be equal to A complement. Oh, oops. B is gonna be equal to A complement. Given that U is obviously just going to be the set of all real integers, A is just simply going to be 1 and 2, and then B is going to be it's going to be A complement, then it's just going to seem to be the case that we're still somewhat describing B. Clearly, B has some sort of being or substance itself, right? It has clearly some sort of properties given as A complement. It's just going to be anything above A. It's going to be anything that is not 1 or 2. Is that simple enough?
So yeah, firstly, I think you need to clarify what this is and how it applies into the current conversation. Secondly, I would want you to justify
this is me describing something via negativa. What the reason why this is relevant to the conversation is because, like I said, I don't think I need to define something directly.
Oh yeah.
By not defining B directly by just listing out every single number. Rather, I listed out that it was the complement of A, or rather, it was just simply not A.
Yeah, okay.
Anything
You still
about
have
it.
to go into clarification. You still have a burden placed on you
What is the burden?
to justify. Like, I gave you two burdens. Basically, you would have to justify how this fits within the conversation, and you still need to clarify what.
I already explained why this fits into the justification. I mean, why this fits
Okay.
into the conversation.
Okay, explain it.
I just described B without absolutely listing out it all very directly, giving positive properties. Rather, I did it by purely via negativa.
Okay, yeah, and then that's also has a burden placed on it. What does that mean? Go on and clarify.
You need to know what via negativa means.
I need to know what all of it means.
Okay, via negativa is just going to be me describing something by negative properties.
Yeah, and then what does that mean? And how does it have a hold on the conversation?
By not. I'm describing it by not.
You're describing it by not. Okay, and now explain what's the hold on the conversation.
I don't need to describe something with particularly direct positive properties that tell us literally everything about its meaning. What was the original question again? I don't even remember. What are we talking about? Why are we going in?
Okay, so you don't need to describe. Repeat that.
What was the original topic again? Hurry it up.
Know the topic.
I gotta go
repeat your argument.
What was the original topic of discussion again?
Again, stop avoiding the actual question.
No. I need to know, and then I'll answer the question.
I don't care about your sidetrack. I don't care about your sidetrack. So unless you want to
It's
repeat
not a
what you said,
sidetrack
we can
for me.
actually. Yeah, it definitely is a sidetrack because you're moving on from the main.
Yo, hold on,
arguments that are
Keta.
based on the
Keta,
table.
hold on, before you make me
Look,
mad.
hold on.
And then I'm gonna go
Okay,
into meta. But calm yourself. Hold on.
Look,
Right? I already explained why this is relevant. Why do you said, right, to start off, that was not gonna be relevant, given I haven't directly, entirely described it in some sort of way that's just gonna be very sorry, my bad. It's gonna be some way that's I guess if I were to describe the human body and I describe every single little inner working of it, I describe the entire antics of this
yo,
specific
hold on.
being.
Actually, I don't even know I'm listening to this. I just disregard this until you repeat the actual thing instead of just shifting the goalposts.
That wasn't shifting the goalposts. Matter of fact, go ahead and define.
Why? Okay, so hold on for the audience. If we're discussing something and he switches on to asking everyone what's the original topic and avoids listing out the argument, is
That was a horrible rhetorical move. I'm sorry to break it to you. Anyways, right? I asked what it means, and I still engaged.
So unless you can list off your original thing, I'm just gonna dismiss everything unless we actually go back to what we're discussing.
What was that?
Unless we like go back to the original topic or the original discussion, I don't really care about the side posted things, and I'm just gonna dismiss it. I don't really care.
It doesn't matter if you dismiss it. You didn't argue against what I said. The entire point was whether or not
it's a shifted goalpost argument. I don't care for it.
That's not a goalpost argument.
I already explained why it was.
Right?
I already explained why it was. So if you're just gonna move on, my explanation is just gonna.
He asked me if I needed to describe something directly. I gave him a description via negativa to show that I don't.
Yes, and I still placed a burden on you. There's still a
you
burden.
You didn't. Okay, and what was the burden that exactly made it where it was clear that via negativa was not viable?
Oh my goodness.
Well, where was the argument?
I'm saying I placed a burden on the original argument you have yet to list. So if you don't list that argument, we could just move on.
Oh my gosh, Keta, you are actual burger. Listen. For every single thing I said, you asked me to justify. That's why I'm justifying right now that I don't need to describe things directly. Okay, so once we do that,
that was my burden 30 years ago. That was the burden I placed 30 years ago.
Oh my god. Okay, you know what? Tell me, what is the current burden?
Okay, the current burden placed on the argument was you listed off an argument. I'm telling you to describe and go on to clarify what the argument was and what's the hold on the conversation. You describe like, okay, repeat that and explain what the hold that has as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But still skepticism placed on your arguments.
Basic, right, understanding of everything we're talking about, okay?
Just repeat the argument or we can just move on, bro.
Again, horrible rhetorical move. That was not a slam dunk. But anyways,
okay,
we went into this point. What I said was there was a distinction between personalized archetypes and specific forms of concepts.
So you
right?
can move on.
After we talked about that, you asked me to give some sort of distinction. After you asked me distinction, what happened next was I went on to talk about, let's say, Jungian archetypes, or you asked me to be like, okay, then what is the specific description of this thing? Why don't you need to describe it directly? And I said that I don't need to describe it directly. You asked me to justify that. I gave you a description via negativa, and then you went into this nothing point. But anyways, right, to go back to the
You
actual
switched
substance, that's
goalposts.
gonna be
We went
no,
on to
that was
the
not
nothing point because you switched the goalposts. We
that
can
was
go
that
back
was
to the
not shit.
recording.
That was not switching the goalposts. But anyways, right?
Okay, so if we go back into the recording played
Anyways,
out, it's not going to be shifting the
again, you can
goalposts.
keep on trying to appeal the
It's not going to be
recording.
you
It's not gonna
avoiding the
save you
burden that was
from
placed uphand.
it's not gonna save you from what's happening right now. But anyways, right?
Look,
When we're talking about
okay,
personalized
you can
archetypes
say
versus the actual forms or concepts, right? Are you gonna say that any specific thought we have or our own little personal recognition of, let's say, causality is going to be the same as the actual form of causality?
wait, what? I was just gonna ignore that because it
No,
has
I think it's
to what the burden
I
was
think it's
placed.
important. That's exactly
Okay,
that's
it's
the entire
important.
argument for the definition.
Repeat that then. We can.
Okay, then do you think that me recognizing and coming to a conclusion based on, let's say, experienced regularities, as Hume would call it, me seeing that A caused B to happen, and me coming up and recognizing there's this thing, and I'm going to call it causality, would that be the same as the actual form or concept of causality?
Hold on, let me type that down. All right, repeat it so I can put it in chat.
You need me to repeat it again?
So I can put it in chat.
And yeah,
So what
Gray,
you-
and that's what I'm trying to get to. Trying to get to Jungian archetypes. Anyways, right? The idea is, I'm gonna just say it again. Yeah, okay. Look, you have, let's say, A caused B, right? I'm experiencing this. I'm watching different things cause other things. So I'm like, okay, then there clearly seems to be some sort of causal sequence in the world, and I'm gonna call this causality. Do you think my personal recognition of this specific pattern, for instance, is going to be the same as the actual form or concept or specific structure or feature within the world that does this process?
that does this. Okay, I see what you're getting on. All right. Okay. So here, let me explain why I don't think that applies uh within the certain conversation. So obviously, yes, there's some physical hold on, let me see the let me get the word real quick. Okay. So there seems to be some physical issue the physical property is the experience that this person goes through. Um right? And I don't necessarily think that what's it called? I think that physical property creates a distinction between the his experience, right? And then
Wait, hold on,
we're
hold on,
actually
hold on.
talking about the
Hold on, hold on,
concept
hold
of
on,
it.
hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm gonna join up on my
Hold on,
phone. My
no,
PC speaking.
okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Right. Speak now. You can talk again.
Okay, this is the first cross of your argument. Your first cross of the argument thing, uh, physical property that this person aligns to. He goes through this, but when we're talking about what Eisen's transcending stuff, it's more so moving away from the physical part of it. Um, right? It's more so moving away from the physical part of it, and it seems to align to more so a concept of it, right? So there's an issue. You're not
And
really
wait, the
necessarily.
concept is reason, right?
Uh, yeah, reason. But
Okay, right. And
the reason I'm bringing up the physical part because I think reason, it has a how do I explain this? There's this physical thing within it, which is the experience. It's strict. Okay, it's strictly tied to the physical experience. Mine doesn't seem to have that. It doesn't have this. It seems to have that tie. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like a distinction between your reason and my reason.
okay, right. So, I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, one, was that scan that you sent earlier supposed to be this, right? If so, I want you to justify that being in quotations non-physical. Um, I want you to go ahead and give the scan that shows exactly how it works, and then we can go into whether or not this is going to actually be a somewhat relative stature and to like an actual form or concept that's going to be just
Okay.
a feature of reality, independent of mine.
Here, let me get the scans where he trans. This is one of them. All right, we got it. Reason is but a shield for those who cower behind it. This is one of them. He describes reason as something that's weak.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
understandable.
reason is going to be something that some sort of particularized consciousness or agent is going to be using, given their sentience. Seems basic enough. You know what that is? That's a derivation of the forms, or
Hold on, I'm
let's
not
say
done. I'm
concepts
not saying
themselves.
you dumb bitch. So
But
unless you want to
anyways,
give
go
me
ahead
the
and give the
scan
other
like a
scan.
bunch of the
We'll
time,
wait.
yeah, you just gonna sit here like a little boy. And I got it. Yo, Ichi talking crazy. Hold on. All right, and then
Okay,
Satan
that's
says that
it.
his power surpasses even reason.
Hey, matter of fact,
Yeah.
while we're at it, can you go ahead and prove that these are accurate translations?
I mean, it's just more consistent.
I
Every
don't I don't
translator.
grant that it's consistent. I need you to prove it's an accurate translation.
Okay, we can slap it with we can slap it through 5 translators, and it's gonna be
Okay, and why
consistent.
would I think that these translators are going to be accurate?
I mean, if they have some sort of standing, some sort of ratings that people seem to use, then it would be the case that most case consistent. We can also go through Japanese kanji. We can go through these Japanese
Okay,
websites that have
Keta.
that. Hold on, I'm not done. We can go through the Japanese translations or like these Japanese kanji websites. We have the kanji and it defines what the kanji mean to disprove you. So most likely just bearing the case that everything, all the evidence seems to build up to be the case that these are most likely the correct translations. So unless you want to pull this rat off, it's not going to work in your
No,
favor.
don't worry. I am gonna pull the rat argument. It's okay, because I just like
Okay,
messing with
raise
it.
the
But anyways,
probability for. Okay,
giving a probabilistic argument is not gonna matter, given the distinction between a deductive and an ambiguous argument. When you go ahead and you give an argument based on probability, what you're actually doing is giving some sort of second order argument, right? Which is just to say that you're not actually asserting or proving the truth value that you're saying there is for the specific proposition. So what I
okay,
want you to do is give an
okay, hold
actual
on. What I'm doing,
deductive and sound argument.
hold on.
Thank you.
What I'm doing is raising the probability for mines being more likely.
Okay, and
So,
again, I said
okay,
that
hold on, hold on,
I'm not going to
I'm not
grant
done.
that.
Okay, you can't grant that. Sure, you can reject the grant, but within the argument, mine's just gonna have more likely to be the case. Correct. So I don't really care about what you think. What I think is about the evidence that we have on our side, and currently you have no evidence. So
Okay. Again, Keta, I'm gonna have to break this down for you, right? Because clearly I'm appealing to some sort of like, I guess, deductivist framework. The idea
okay,
is,
but hold
right,
on.
when you
Earlier within the
argue
debate, hold on.
ampliatively or inductively or abductively or analogically, when you do these things, you're not actually proving the truth value of an
Hold on.
assertion.
Okay,
You're only trying to point towards it. Those are
yeah,
not the
okay.
same
So
thing.
why do I have to? Okay, like earlier within the debate when you rejected, you tried to reject my form of evidence or what I view as evidence. So if it's the case that you can seemingly reject my case of what I view as evidence, why can't it be the case that I don't have to abide by yours? Unless you want to backtrack and say you have to accept, I don't
Because, like
see
I
it.
said, under my specific deductivist framework, what I'm talking
Okay, why
about is
again?
making sure
That's
that your
what's your
argument is
question. Why
sound.
do I have to abide by that? Why do I have to abide by that?
Okay,
What's your
because what
question?
I'm doing is just going to make it the case that whatever I assert is going to be guaranteed. While on the other hand, yours may
Okay,
not necessarily
okay.
be true.
So why does like okay if it's the case like we have to why do we have to follow the guaranteed route when we could just again raise the probability? Why does that have to be the case?
Because if we follow the guaranteed route, it has to be true. Well, on the other hand,
Okay,
if we
so
follow a probability argument, that doesn't make it true, right?
you realize you
When you
don't okay you
say,
realize you haven't posited any guarantee for this being wrong as well. You're also abiding by probability.
okay,
You realize that, right?
I don't need to give some sort of guarantee that they're going to be wrong. All I'm saying is they're not
Okay,
necessarily right.
okay, so they're not necessarily right. Is that not abiding by probabilities?
That's the point. I'm abiding by probabilities. What I'm saying is your argument is
Well,
probabilistic.
so you're abiding by probabilities. Okay, so if it's the case you're abiding by probabilities, why can't we use a probabilistic argument if we also
Hold on, are you
have to use
tracking? Are you tracking? What I'm saying is your argument's probabilistic. That's why we're abiding by probabilities here. And what I'm saying is I have an issue with that. I want your argument to be deductive, and I want the conclusion to be guaranteed.
okay, that's again still a burden placed on why I would have to follow this because earlier with the confines of the debate, we already accepted that we don't have to strictly follow each other's frameworks, and I don't necessarily have to accept this whole deductive based on what we did within the debate. Let's back again, like I said.
Okay,
So
we don't
that
need to backtrack. We don't need to backtrack, and it's fine if you want to try
okay.
to
So we
just.
don't have to backtrack. Okay, we don't have to backtrack. Perfect. So what I'm
But
saying is,
anyways,
if it's the case we don't have to backtrack, I don't have to accept your view to posit this evidence, right? I don't have to accept that view. And use my view to seeming justify my evidence, right? So if that's the case,
Okay.
it within the confines of that's perfectly fine.
Again, that was kind of just a nothing burger. I don't think you're understanding. Yes, we can disagree with each other's frameworks. That's perfectly fine. When we're talking about when we're disagreeing with other people's frameworks is whether or not it's viable and whether or not it's coherent and whether or not it's even logical or if it's fallacious, right? And I go there and I point out that your framework is fallacious. Obviously, you should be like, maybe
Okay,
I should get
where's
like, a
where's
moment
the
to step
fallacy?
back,
Okay,
get a little metacognitive. What?
where seems to be the fallacy within a within a
There
probabilistic
seems to be the
framework?
fallacy
Yeah,
within the probabilistic framework.
what seems to be
Right.
fallacious?
Okay, so you asserted it to be the case that this is going to be, you could say, some sort of actual concept of reason, right?
What do you mean?
You asserted that Eisen was, messing with this actual concept of reason, which is how you got into outer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then, given you're asserting that, right, if the premise that he was actually affecting the real concept of outer isn't really sound or it's not necessarily true, then how is your conclusion that he's outer, which is based on that, gonna be necessarily true?
Okay, firstly, I think we did lose the plot. Because firstly, what deductive in the case is what seems to be deductive is the actual reason for him. Hold on, watch. Let me list this stuff. This seems to be deductive.
Wait, but Keta, outside of just this debate, you do know like inductions and abductions don't actually assert a truth value for a proposition, right? Like I won't if you say yes or no, like I'm not even gonna like take that and like try to use it against you during the debate. I'm just making sure you know that.
Okay, was this what it seems the premise or the syllogism or whatever that out in chat is what deductive. That's not me
Yeah,
specifying.
that's fine, right? And matter of
Okay,
fact,
okay. Let me
this is
explain.
so horribly put, right? But my point wasn't whether or not
I don't really.
it's validly structured. What I was actually attacking was the soundness, which is just gonna be that okay, is the premise actually true? And was that make the conclusion actually true? Right? And if
Okay,
this premise isn't necessarily true, then the conclusion won't be necessarily true,
okay. But the
which is
thing
what I
is, the
mentioned.
premise is what based off of some like the premise isn't abiding by this like probable. What's being abided by the probabilistic thing is the evidence posited for the premise.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Hey, Keta, right? When we go ahead and we give arguments like this, if they're validly structured, what we're going to be doing next is obviously we're going to be putting into question the premises so that we can attack the soundness, because otherwise any sort of valid deductive argument would go through. And in that case,
That's
I
not
could just
no.
say
Okay,
anything. So we still have to justify the premises. So when you say Eisen transcended reason, I still want you to go ahead and justify he actually transcended this reason that you're positing when you say
yeah. Okay.
reason,
Look.
because
Okay.
obviously you said
What
it
I'm
different.
saying is, it seems to be the case that itself are not based off of these probabilistic frameworks, but it's based off of the probabilistic framework and not real. It
Okay,
seems
so
to
what
be
is the
evidence
justification
positive.
for the premises then? What's the justification for the premises then if they're not based on this probabilistic framework?
Elijah, you're not tracking.
No, I'm tracking. So tell me then,
Okay,
what
what
is
I'm
the
saying is
justification for the premises?
the premises themselves aren't based. Look, the premises themselves aren't probabilistic. But what's
Oh,
probabilistic is the evidence for the premises. If the premises go to be the case, the conclusion
oh,
would be.
oh no, you're confused. Okay, right. Listen. Let me be more specific. The evidence itself is not the probability of an of a proposition, right? That is not true, right? What you're talking about is the truth value of the proposition, whether or not you're actually trying to assert in some sort of probabilistic way, right? The thing is, I'm denying the soundness of your argument. which is just gonna make sure that your conclusion isn't actually hitting that little sweet spot that you need to actually get here and get your point to
Okay,
pass
look,
through.
you're talking a bit too much. All right, here.
What I need you to do is I still need you to justify this. I still need you to get eyes into outer.
Yes, okay, Elijah. The route we're taking is putting skepticism as evidence for the premises. That's what we're talking about. So unless you want to
Okay.
move another point, and go back to the premises themselves, because what we're trying is whether the justification for themselves can be probabilistic. That's what's currently in question. That's the initial burden you would place on me.
Okay. Let me get this straight then. So, do you think that the conclusion can be necessarily true given the premises aren't necessarily true?
Do I think that a conclusion can be true? Yeah.
Do you think that the conclusion can be necessarily true given the premises are not necessarily true?
The conclusion be true.
Okay. Again, that wasn't what I was asking you. Your conclusion can be true. Yes. I was asking you, is the conclusion necessarily true given the premises are not necessarily true?
Okay, what is not necessarily true? Because I already answered it 3
Like it is
times.
true in all cases. It's a tautology.
Uh, actually, what's the relevance of
No?
that?
What's the relevance of that? Right. I mean, this is why I said that we're going to be appealing to some sort of deductive framework so that you can actually assert your thing and it can be guaranteed as true. Right. So if that
Oh my
premise doesn't
goodness,
actually always
Elijah.
hold, hold on. If that premise doesn't actually always hold, then it just seems to be the case that you haven't actually proven that Eisen actually transcends it. Rather, you're saying, okay, then there's a possibility and even maybe a good probability that
Okay,
he
that's
does.
just mending my argument in some sort of crazy way. Again, firstly, the premise is right. Hold on, let me go back up. Say this again because they're putting in chat. Where's my syllogism? Right here. All right, go ahead and repeat what you just said.
You need me to repeat what I just said? Which part? Which part you want me to repeat? Do you want me to repeat the part where I said, is the conclusion going to be necessarily true, given the premises are not necessarily true? Or after that?
After.
Okay, right. So, given P2 isn't going to always be the case that it is true, right? Then the conclusion won't always be the case that it's true, given the conclusion is obviously dependent upon the premises. If that's going to be the case, right, then you don't actually have an argument to assert the necessary truth value. So your conclusion isn't actually guaranteed that Eisen will be
Oh
outer.
my goodness. Okay. Firstly, right. Let's go ahead and firstly, I already listed off some sort of justification for being true. The justification hasn't been attacked here, right? There's no
The
case burden on
justification was
me.
definitely attacked.
Right? So if it's the case, the other one of my pieces, what's it called, have no burden placed on him. It's just seems to be the case that this is still going to be true even if one of the evidence is lacking, right? Secondly, right?
Okay, could you no, that's not gonna be true. Okay then. So if
Hold
it's
on,
if
no,
it's
I'm
gonna
not
be
done.
if one of the
Secondly,
evidences are lacking, right? So it's gonna be if it's the case Eisen transcends reason, he's outer, conclusion, he's outer. That's gonna be the argument.
what do you mean? I didn't say the premise. I said the evidence for the. What are you talking about?
Oh man. Okay then. So the premise isn't justified. So I can just dismiss the premise.
Oh my goodness, yo, you're not tracking.
No. I'm tracking all
Okay,
right.
hold
If
on,
he
no, hold on.
can't,
You. What I said is,
hold
if
on.
I posited multiple pieces of evidence for the premise being true, and one of them still look is one of
Okay,
them
wait,
is
wait. So
still.
wait.
Hold on.
So they weren't like connected then?
What are you talking about?
Okay,
There are
wait.
just
Hold on.
multiple
So
statements. There's just multiple statements saying.
okay.
There's just
Okay. So
multiple.
there's multiple statements. Okay. That's fine. So we'll go over them one by one for you. The first one was that him saying like
No,
there's
I don't
something about the
accept. I don't
person's
accept back.
reason.
Accept back.
That's not backtracking. I'm making sure I know what I'm
I
talking
mean,
about. So that I can do it.
no,
That's
hold
not what
on.
backtracking is.
It kind of is backtracking.
Okay, you
So I'm
define backtracking real quick.
all right, going back to previous points, right? Or going
Okay,
back
I'm
to
not
previous.
going back to a previous point. We're not arguing anything about a previous point. All I'm doing is making sure that I'm
I
getting
actually
what
think this
you asserted or gave as evidence correctly so that I
yes,
can
and
later give
I'm
it in
saying
a
the reason
different point.
the reason I think this is backtracking is because when I seen like when I sent the evidence, it seemed to be the case that you had no issues with it prior. So when I the evidence again as a means to justify it, it seems to the
No,
case
I
you definitely have
definitely I
issues with it.
definitely had issues with it. That's what we've been talking
Okay,
about.
so
Anyways, this
if
was
we can, okay, if we go back to the
this was
recording,
one of your
back
things,
to the
right?
recording, if we go back to the recording, there's going to be an issue within the debate.
Uh-huh. But
If we
anyways,
go
right?
back to the,
Before
if
hold
we go,
on, hold on,
no, hold on.
hold on.
If we go back to the recording, is there going to be an issue based on a verdict
Yes,
based on?
yes, I
Okay,
already
what's
said
the
that.
verdict?
I already said that
What's
I
the
don't
verdict?
believe that this reason here is going to actually be the reason that's going to be the form of the concept. Rather, it's going to be some sort of archetype or recognized pattern, given, I guess you could say, experience regularities, as Hume would call them.
Okay, so you're saying it's the experience part.
What I'm saying is this isn't the actual form. So when he's
Yeah, my nigga,
interacting
the
with it or
experience,
necessarily doing
you
other stuff,
already listed a symmetry break with your reasoning in mind. So when I say the experience part, I'm saying your reasoning. So is that what you mean?
yeah, that's the critique against yours.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm just making sure, right? So I'm gonna go over this right here. This reason is but a shield for those who cower behind it. This is one of the evidence he's provided, right?
All right. First of all,
Okay, then. So you didn't prove that the reason there was actually going to be the form and not just the archetype. Let's go. We got here. I asked you to
yeah,
justify
we
that
got
the
here,
translation was
and then
correct. You didn't
uh-huh.
justify that the translation was correct.
I actually
You gave a
disagree with
you gave a probabilistic argument which wasn't working under the deductivist framework, given we already talked about whether or not the conclusion would be guaranteed true. And since it
Hold
wasn't,
on, but
you
again,
weren't actually
I already
proving the
said
truth
I don't
value for the
accept,
proposition.
I don't have to abide by
Okay,
the
yeah, that's why we went
probabilistic
to the
things.
point.
Hold on.
That's why we went back. That's why we
Yeah.
went to that point. I already
Uh huh.
explained to you. You can deny the
And then
framework, right? But it doesn't matter if you deny the framework because we're going to go into the viability and coherency of the
and then
framework.
hold on. And
So
then
that's why we
hold
broke
on.
it down.
Also, I'm not
What?
just gonna let the one for my other justification slide. We already addressed the second part. Uh, okay. Firstly, you said okay, yeah, to justify uh, why it has to just to bring something up that raises a probability for your reason fitting within this context, right? Or fitting within the scenario of what Eisen is saying. Especially when other like other seem to use this like this upscaled version of reason and saying that okay, the reason is this like powerful thing, right? So if it's the case that it backs up and being this some sort of like probable thing or this powerful thing, I'm saying it's just most likely not going. It's most likely going to be the case that it's more so my definition because your definition has no sort
Um,
of power standing and
again,
it wouldn't
uh,
necessarily fit the context.
okay, right. And listen, Keta, that's perfectly fine. Yours may even be most likely the case, but that wasn't what I was attacking. I was getting more meta theoretical. And the point that I was making is I'm not even going to grant amplitude reasoning as a proper justification here, given it's not actually proof of the truth value of a proposition, which is the point we were going on.
Okay,
But if
hold
you
on.
want to
What do you mean by that?
backtrack,
Go ahead
right,
and
and
clarify.
go, if you want
Go
to
ahead and
backtrack and
clarify.
go against your own rule, we can. You want to
Go
backtrack?
ahead.
You want me to clarify it again?
Backtrack on what?
On
Backtrack on what?
why amplitude reasoning is an actual proof of a truth value of a proposition.
What is empty?
That's just induction, abduction, analogical reasoning, those kind of stuff. You know, what is that? What is not deductive? It's split.
Okay, and how is it me backtracking? What is it? Clarify? What is
We
it
already
back?
went. We already were just on this whole point about it. We literally just talked about it, bro.
Yeah, and then where's the backtrack? That's what I'm asking.
Did we not move on from that point? You literally went on to the next point about okay, then well, I don't think that you attacked all the little different pieces of evidence that I had, and I said yes, I did, and then I explained to you how I did.
Yeah, and I'm saying, oh, okay, if that's what you mean. No, I don't think that's a backtrack. It's the
Okay,
case
fine
that
then. No, it's okay then. It's okay then. Yeah. Okay then. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll just go. I'll explain it again to you. Okay, it's fine. I'm a granted to you. That's a backtrack. Anyways, right? When we're talking about amplitude everything, or we
yo,
give
bro, this is
probabilistic
boring as
argument,
fuck, my nigga. We can move on, bro.
right? No, it's okay. When we give probabilistic
Look,
arguments, the conclusion won't be guaranteed, right?
yeah, we already discussed on this.
So then, how is that proof that the proposition is going to be true or false, given that there's no guaranteed proposition that's true or false under your
Look,
proof?
I already reject your view. We can move on.
It doesn't matter if you rejected the view. You didn't properly
It does. I already gave
debunk or give a
justification for
rebuttal
why I
to it.
don't accept your view. Because
No,
look,
you
I already
didn't.
gave justification. Yeah, okay, then we can move on. If it's not gonna be it,
Okay, you know, yeah,
if
we
you think
can move on. I don't think you didn't properly justify your refutation or denial of it. That's what I literally explained to you. Matter of fact, we went on the point, which I'm not going to backtrack on. I literally explained to you. You could deny it all you want. That's perfectly fine. But we're going to go over the viability and coherency of the framework anyways. That's why we went on that whole point, right?
yeah,
And that's
look, we
why
can move on.
that. But anyways, right? Since you lost the point, yeah, we can go on to the next point. So what do you
I
want to say
don't
next?
think I lost the. I don't think I lost the
What
point.
do you want to say next?
So transcend, uh, or and grant the win regardless of how strong the character if I'm outer. And if it's the case that if it's the case that what's it called, you are outer, right? Oh, this is what I was gonna initially bring up.
Anyways,
Yes,
right?
you are.
You didn't justify that your character was outer. Um, what else? What else do you want me to add?
As I was saying, if it's actually no, I don't want to do that. It's gonna extend the debate. I don't really care for your win con, so we could if you think you won, so we could just end the
But
debate.
anyways, right? You didn't get eyes into outer, right? So it's my turn to scale.
You're not greatly judging this.
Don't worry, bro. Don't worry. It's my turn to scale. So let me get my scan.
Great, you're judging this, bro.
Mm-mm-mm. Let me
Like
see.
honestly, I'm not. I'm gonna, bro. Just send your scan and I'll grant it. I don't care, bro. Please.
You'll grant it?
It depends. Sorry, up send it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You said.
Bro, Gray, this is the most boring debate of my life.
Okay, since you're gonna grant it, you want to grant that one?
I'm gonna keep out logic. Actually, like, what is this? Weak X, twin.
Huh?
Got logic. You know what?
What did you say? I didn't hear
I'll
you.
argue against it. I'll argue against it. Passive death hacks doesn't work for people who are born. You can try and kill my character, he's gonna come back.
Hold
Probably
on,
be like
hold on.
nothing.
What were you saying? Well, hold on. Before you get to that point, so are you granting that Tamaki has logic and fate manip, or Tamaki has passive death hacks? Are you gonna grant that?
Depends. Some you can get.
No. I want to see first before we go into the point about whether or not the death hacks will work on someone who's immortal. I'm asking whether or not you grant the scan.
Do I want to grant? Okay, actually, I could just do this. Where's this from?
Where is that from? That's
Yeah, where's the
obviously just
source?
from Discord. That's from the
Can you prove
Swordverse.
that? Can you prove that?
I don't feel I need to prove that. Could you give some sort of basis for your
No.
skepticism?
Okay. How am I supposed to trust this as a reliable source if you can't like give me the source, give me the original
Okay,
message?
can you? Okay, right. So I want you to go ahead and give some sort of reliable skepticism. So just to make sure that your
Reliable
skepticism
skepticism.
isn't
Okay.
arbitrary, hold on. I want your skepticism to not be arbitrary, right? Because otherwise, right, it would just seem to be the
Can you
case that no reason
can you
to doubt
justify
this.
what you like classify as arbitrary and
All
reliable
right,
skepticism?
arbitrary
And
here, and
also,
reliable skepticism.
can you justify why I need some sort of like reasoning to back up like my skepticism?
Ooh,
Those
okay.
two
Do you
important.
know what the intoxic method is?
No, I don't.
Okay, right. The intoxic method, which I guess main com low tiers now, right, which is the new tech, they call it doxastic conservatism. The idea just is, right, that there's certain underlying assumptions that we're just going to simply, I guess, in a way, follow or take to be true, right? Even though we can't necessarily prove it absolutely with 100% certainty, right? Because we do not have any sort of valid defeater or given reason to deny it.
Okay, here, let me give my reason. My reason is based on because I've had it seems to be the case that you could just prompt up any like you could just prompt up any sort of used in this So it seems that some of these messages can want justification. I want justification for this being a true
I
Discord
don't
message.
grant the possibility of them being fake. Could you explain to me why they would be fake?
You don't grant the possibility of them being fake. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is definitely heavy, but
Could you
you
explain
already
why that's a burden shift also?
because you're already positing this to be a true. You realize that,
Absolutely.
right?
Like I said, I was grant
So
off.
can
That's why I said I was doing some sort of
yeah, so that
indoxic
would be a burden
approach.
shift for me to justify why this thing is like whatever. No, I won't
Well, I
get
mean,
into it. I'll get over it.
you didn't really
But
explain why you denied in the indoxic method or AKA main
I'm saying I
contact
can
exhaustion
grant that, and
services.
it could be the case. I grant that, and then based off of my experiences, Discord messages are fake. Screenshots are fake based off of what I've seen. So I want you to justify this not being a fake message, and I want.
Okay, anyways, right? Since you just granted the indoxic method, right? Are you capable of giving some sort of valid defeater or reason as to why we're not gonna take this to simply to be a real screenshot and them telling the truth?
I already gave the. I said the message. There's Discord messages that have been fake. That is a valid enough justification. So if it's
There's okay, number one, I want you to prove that there's been fake Discord messages. And outside of proving that there's been fake Discord messages, what I want you to do is I want you to explain to me why there would be fake Discord messages of Tamaki.
okay, firstly, you want me to justify? Okay, I mean, here, TB, we can use TB as he has had fake Discord messages. TB, if he, secondly, I don't think faking Discord messages needs to differ from person to person. I think you have to justify why there needs to be a distinction
No.
between
I
like
think it
you and the other
definitely
person.
differs from person to person. If
Okay,
it, but
justify
that
that.
only matters. No. Hold
Justify
on.
that.
That only matters, right? And I'm only asserting that if you can prove that there's actually ever been a faked screenshot, or could you prove that even
No,
fake
you're not
screenshots
only
exist?
asserting that. I want you to.
No, I want you to prove that there's fake screenshots on Discord. I want you to prove that fake screenshots
Yeah,
exist.
while
I
I'm
want you
doing
to
that, I want you to.
clarify. I want you to clarify the semantics
Hold
behind
on, but
fake
before we do
is.
that, I still think you would need to justify why it would differ from person to person. Because I can
I
question my
don't need
burdens.
to. Okay, listen. Hold
No,
on.
you don't need to
Right?
question your. You don't need to justify your.
Hold on. Keta. I'm gonna explain it to you, right? When you say you need me to justify it being why it being fake would depend person to person. First, I want you to justify there even being fake things to begin with, so that I can justify there being fake it to being dependent from person to person. I need you to justify the existence first, so that I can talk about the existence.
No, I don't. I don't really want to do that. Like, I don't think I would have to
Okay, then so if you're not
first
gonna
prove
do
this
that, then
to
I
move on
just
from my
don't grant
burdens.
your
So
defeater.
before when I still justify one of your burdens, and then we can go on
I
to
don't need to justify that bring. I already explained to you that I'm going to need you to justify the existence so that I could justify some sort of judgment about the existence, right? But if you're not going to do that, right, then we can just simply
Hold on,
dismiss
I
that
never said I
defeater.
was not going to do that. I said that before. I want to do that. I still think you need to justify a burden.
You need me to
Because I could
justify which
hold on.
burden?
So I could be like this. I could be like this. Firstly, I want to. I could just be like this. Firstly, I think you need to justify why this skin is real. Secondly, I think you need to justify why this logic thing is real. Firstly, and thirdly, I want you to justify them using like this normal
Oh
language.
yeah, no,
And
that's
then
fine.
if I
That's
and
fine. I
then if
already
I wanted
justified
to
it.
question it, if I
I already justified
burdens
it. I
that
already
have been
justified
placed,
it.
that's perfectly fine.
I
So,
already justified it though.
oh my goodness, you're not trying
I
to
already
talk.
justified it. You granted the indoxically approaching it. You granted that. You said it yourself,
Yeah, that wasn't
right?
the point of the message. We can move on.
You said you'll grant it,
If you
right?
don't want to
So what
attack
I'm
the
saying is
argument,
I need you to give some sort of real defeater here.
yeah, if you, I don't think you tracked the argument that was given at hand.
Like
The
that
whole
was
point
definitely me
wasn't for
tracking.
me to the whole. What I'm saying is the point of me listing off those burdens wasn't to you have to justify them in some sort of way. What I was saying was it's perfectly fine how these burdens have been placed in the first place. You'd have to like showcase this first before I want to question the burdens that have been placed.
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that last part? You like cut out for me.
Can you prove that?
I was just asking for some, I guess, some charitability. I didn't hear you.
I don't really care about that. You can prove that. Otherwise,
Okay,
it just seems to be
that's
the case.
perfectly fine. Anyways, right? Upon the
Okay,
burden
okay,
you
we can
tried to
move on.
place on me, upon the burden you tried, no, hold on. Upon the burden you tried to place upon me, right? Because when I said move on, by the way, obviously I was simply referring to the charitability, which was like a very quick side point. But anyways, right? When we're talking about the burden you placed upon me, which was whether or not it would actually vary from person to person, right? What I was saying is that kind of burden, right, will only
Oh,
take
you're
place.
not tracking the argument. The burden itself is the problem.
Okay, that's why I
You
said I
just
need you to repeat it.
oh yeah, no, I don't think I need
Okay,
to.
okay then,
You
right?
still,
Anyways,
in order for me
right?
to repeat it, you would have to you're not hearing.
Okay, I mean, I justified me not hearing it by me not tracking.
Why is that justification? You think you think
Okay, right. Let's
you hold
see.
on. You don't think someone can mistrack while hearing someone?
Define hearing.
Just
Define hearing.
we define hearing. I don't think I need to
Oh,
define hearing.
I need you to define hearing so that I can tell you why I
You
didn't hear.
already posited. I would want to hear your definition before
I
go on.
okay, yeah, I posited some sort of definition, but I'm trying to work under your semantics. So I need you to explain to me what hearing means here,
Hearing
so that I could
is
tell you why under your framework I didn't hear you.
so hearing.
And while we're at it, outside of just hearing, I want you to give me some sort of foundational semantic theories of word meaning, as well as your theories of reference and compositionality, so that I can know you're actually speaking a real language and not just monkey babble.
Look,
Okay, I'm
before I
playing.
go
I'm playing.
into
I'm
that,
playing. I'm playing.
you
I'm
have
sorry.
to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm
Yeah,
playing. I won't do all that. I won't do all that.
Anyways,
I won't do
secondly,
that. I won't do all that.
under my definition of hearing is being able to understand the words that come out of someone's mouth in this so I can understand what Gray says, but when I try and form some sort of I can just like hold on by what when I mean understand I can understand the words, right, the words that come out of his mouth, me forming the words in some sort of sense of what he was saying, right, I could completely mistrack on that point in terms of the context he was applying to the word. So if someone can hear you, then you will be able to mistrack. So I don't think they go one to one. That's not a
Okay, you're right. And just to make sure, right, you would want to, I guess, assert, right, rationally speaking, you would want to assert, obviously, that this person mistracked, and therefore your argument still seems to stand strong, right?
Like, what are you talking about?
Right? You would want to point out that apparently this person who's mistracked hasn't actually debunked your argument. So your argument want to stand strong. So I would need you to go ahead and explain why then, given, this point that you're trying to make
I never
about
said this. We should just
anti-charitability.
move on.
No, hold on. I want you to explain why my reply was a mistrack. I want you to explain why it was not a refutation to what you said.
I never said this. You're just attacking. You're just ghost boxing. Yeah, we can conclude, bro.
Ghost boxing? But anyways, right? On a further point.
Before we conclude, um, I just want to go. Yeah.
On a real point,
my
though.
character, anyways.
Oh, hold on. That was not the point. That was not the point I was trying to make.
I am not giving any opinions, by the way. Y'all are not dragging me into this shit. I have not been listening, and I've been and I've been taking shots. I've been taking shots the whole time. I have not been listening.
Hey, Gray, you know what you want to say, boy. That boy granted that the exhausted conservatism tech.
You both
Actually,
suck.
didn't fully grant it. I just said it can be that way. I didn't even.
No, you said that you grant it. You definitely said that.
I said
It's
I
on record.
could grant this. We could go
No,
back
you
and
did not
forth.
say you could. You definitely
All
said
right,
you
so
could. I mean, you
okay,
definitely said you would.
you know what? I don't even care. Gray, you could give your opinion, man. Because if Gray doesn't judge this, no one is judging this.
I just said I'm not giving an opinion.
Okay, then. Okay, great. How about this, right? How about this? How
My
about we just
opinion is
give
I'm
you...
gonna kill myself.
Okay, how about we just give you short concluding statements, and you don't even have to think about the rest of the debate.
I'm just gonna tell both of you that you suck.
No, you're not gonna tell me that I suck.
Hey, look,
Elijah, you suck. Keta, you suck.
Look, I just wanted to have a true faith convo, and he wanted to be a rat.
He said, "Hey, I agree with that one."
Hey, bro, no, Gray. Why is this dude talking about truth seeking? Like I didn't hop in here with comp debater, bro.
Yeah, Elijah was never looking for the truth. if you didn't realize that.
You came in
Listen,
here
hey Keta,
to
bro,
waste
Keta,
my
look, I could
time.
promise you this, bro. Look, Keta, look, I'll promise you this, bro.
Look,
Listen, I personally think you got beat the fuck up on right now. But listen, I promise you this, and I guarantee this. I solemnly swear, the next time that I debate you on Crossverse, I promise you I will truth seek
look,
and I will be wholly charitable.